The John Hancock Center is a famous example of a style known as structural expressionism. Now, I know that sounds pretty technical, but when you break it down, it really makes sense. The building's structure is very noticeably expressed in its design. We can even see the giant X's that strengthen it from the outside. Now, that might not seem like such a revolutionary idea to us, but consider that for hundreds of years, people designed buildings to be very decorative on the outside. Lots of beautiful details that really served no function except to make the building look nicer, like the buildings of the White City. And over time, architects stripped their designs down to the basics, as they wanted to celebrate the building not with tons of fancy details, but with the building's basic structure itself. The German architect Ludwig Mies van der Rohe famously said, "Less is more," and you can really see that in modern architecture. Just to the right of the John Hancock Center is another one of the tallest buildings in the city, known by its address at 900 North Michigan Avenue. It's the one that has 4 giant lanterns at its rooftop corners, and you can find it right at the northern tip of the Magnificent Mile. Like other buildings in Chicago that have lights on top of them, this building changes the colors of its lights according to holidays, like green for St. Patrick's Day and pink for Valentine's Day. Another building that you might be wondering about is the one with the tall tower capped with a bright blue, steeply pitched roof. If you haven't found it yet, I'll give you a moment. It's about halfway between Navy Pier and the John Hancock Center. That building was originally called the American Furniture Mart, and when it was finished in 1926, it was the largest building in the world. It's known, of course, for its noticeable blue roof. However, it's also known for the fact that it had a rather famous tenant for a while, Playboy Enterprises, and also it had an evil-sounding address for decades, 666 North Lakeshore Drive. Now, this address was finally changed in 1988 because, just like many buildings don't have a floor named the 13th floor, this building was also affected by superstition. Even the John Hancock Center is supposedly haunted because it's shaped like a trapezoid, wider at the bottom and narrower on top. So you see, buildings have stories behind them, but they also gather new stories over time. Navy Pier is 1 kilometer long and was built in 1916. It was originally called Municipal Pier, part of Daniel Browning's 1909 plan for the new layout of our city. The dirty, crowded industrial streets of Chicago left people needing some place where they could relax, get fresh air, and enjoy their little bit of free time with their families. Over the decades, it's been used for a number of different things, including a campus for the University of Illinois at Chicago and a training base for the U.S. Navy. It was actually renamed Navy Pier in honor of this service. Today, you can find an amusement park, restaurants, a free stained glass museum, and my favorite part, a massive greenhouse with palm trees and fountains that shoot arcs of water over your head. Across from Navy Pier, over on the left, is a relic from the 1893 World's Fair, the Chicago Harbor Lighthouse. It is still in use today, more than 120 years later, although it's been automated since 1979. If you look past the lighthouse, out of the lake, you might be wondering what those buildings on the horizon are. They look like they're floating in the middle of the lake.